Hello rugby fans and welcome back to Rugby Today. Of course, this is brought to you by FloRugby. It is January 8th, 2026 and the global transfer market is absolutely flying across the world of rugby. Big name Springboks are on the move, international captains are changing leagues and several clubs are clearly positioning themselves not just for next season, but for the next World Cup cycle indeed. Some of these deals make perfect sense. Others raise some serious questions about depth, eligibility, and long-term planning within these various teams. So let's get straight into the headline moves that we have seen take place across the global rugby world landscape in the last few weeks. Firstly, and absolutely dominating the headlines is, of course, Siya Kolisi returning to the DHL Stormers. This is a statement signing. Full stop for the Stormers. Kesi returns home from the Hollywood Bet Sharks to a Stormers squad that's already stacked with Springbok quality. He knows the system, he knows the environment, and he knows what it takes to win in Cape Town, having come through the Western Province system as a junior and spending 8 seasons with the Stormers earlier in his career. Of course, he then made a move to Racing 92 and the Sharks in that time. When Kolisi is fit and firing, he is still an absolutely elite level operator. Leadership, breakdown work, defensive reads, and big game presence. The Stormers are not buying nostalgia here with Kolisi, they are buying an authority in the global game. The concern, however, is availability for the Stormers. Kolisi will be 35 and is heading into a World Cup run-in where he is expected to captain the Springboks again. The Stormers may not see as much of him as they would like, but when they do, he changes the temperature of the room instantly, both on and off the pitch for John Dobson's side. Again, the Stormers are riding high already this season, so another cherry on the cake for them there. In the Premiership, Jack Morgan and Dowie Lake moving to Gloucester is arguably the most aggressive double signing of the window so far this season. Gloucester have secured the 2 best players in Welsh rugby right now, or at least in the forward pack. Both are captains, both are culture setters, both are genuinely world-class in their positions. Morgan brings absolute relentless physicality and breakdown dominance, while Lake adds power to the set piece and, of course, brings that extra element of leadership too. From the player's perspective, the move offers much more financial security that simply was not going to be available for them with the Ospreys and perhaps Welsh rugby as a whole. The red flags are obvious, however. Both players have already dealt with significant injury interruptions throughout their career, and both will be very heavily relied on by Wales. There's also wider context. This move feels like a warning sign that the Ospreys could be the odd team out if Welsh rugby does what they plan and drops down to 3 professional sides in the United Rugby Championship. Elsewhere, Tom Willis is going to the Union Bordeaux Begles. From a club rugby perspective, this is absolutely outstanding business by UBB. The reigning Investic Champions Cup holders add a world-class back rower who brings balance, control, and massive breakdown presence. The subplot is fascinating too with this one, with Tom now lining up in the same competition as his brother Jack, who has been a dominant force for Stade Toulousain over the last couple of seasons. The downside is for England really. Losing their first choice number 8 overseas only amplifies questions around the sustainability of a strict selection policies that are in place. For neutral fans, it also means we're unlikely to see either Willis brothers at test level unless those rules are changed, which is a major blow given both are world class. For Saracens, this is a massive blow. Willis was a glue in the pack. Hard carrying, defensively brutal, and an elite turnover threat. He does not get replaced easily, even if Saris have plenty of quality. Continuing with Stade Toulousain, we're now moving to Tommaso Menoncello has signed with the Giants. This one really hurts for the URC and for Benetton. Menoncello was the heartbeat of the Benetton rugby backline, and in fact their whole squad. Physical, intelligent, and defensively elite. Losing him now means Benetton have seen 2 world-class centres depart in consecutive seasons after Juan Ignacio Brex left for Toulon last season. For fans, though, the upside is of course box office Menoncello joins a Galactico squad alongside his international teammate Ange Capuazzo, French superstars Antoine Dupont, Romain Ntamack, and Thomas Ramos, and of course much more. This is a move that could take him to an entirely another level, which for Italian rugby in the long run is probably a good thing. In Ireland, Ciaran Frawley has made the move to Connacht Rugby. This is one of the smartest moves of the window, in my opinion. Connacht land a high-level playmaker who kicks his goals, carries hard, and understands exactly what head coach Stuart Lancaster wants. More importantly, Frawley gets consistent game time at fly half, which is something he just wasn't going to get in Leinster. For Irish rugby, this really matters. All 4 provinces now have legitimate options at out half, which could play for Ireland. The trade-off is, of course, Leinster's depth. Frawley was the ultimate utility option for Leinster, covering 10, 12 and 15, and playing behind a less dominant pack for him may now limit just how much Frawley actually controls the game when he gets to Connacht. So, positives and negatives on both sides of that one. In South Africa, Thomas du Toit is returning back to the Hollywood Bet Sharks. The Sharks are rebuilding another Springbok front row. Hopefully this will actually make them a good side. Du Toit returns to Durban, joining Oxnise, Bongi Mbonambi and Vincent Koch. That is serious test level depth. For South African rugby, it also means tighter control over their first choice tight head heading into what will be World Cup fever season. For Bath Rugby, this is painful. Depth behind him and Will Stewart now looks thin, with Archie Griffin is simply not at the level of Thomas du Toit. So that is a bit of a blow for Bath Rugby, but for South African rugby, it is a massive move. Now, other notable transfers that we'll have a little look at. There is a lot happening beneath those headline moves we just discussed. Thomas Williams is moving from Gloucester Rugby to Saracens, so we don't get a full Welsh group in Gloucester. George Martin also is now moving down to Sarries. He's leaving Leicester, but Aaron Wainwright will be joining the Leicester Tigers from the Dragons. Joe Marchant returns to England, leaving Stade Francais for the Sale Sharks. George Furbank will link up with Marcus Smith at Harlequins, adding another playmaking option there. Newcastle are particularly busy, bringing in Rusi Tuiyama, Elliot Millar-Mills, Rafi Quirk, Josh Hodge and Hoskin Satutu. Satutu is the standout here for me. Leaving New Zealand rugby makes him eligible for England, which is a fascinating long-term story. Argentina lock Franco Molina also joins the Red Bulls when his time with Western Force ends at Super Rugby this year. The Stormers continue their long-term vision by signing Wilco Lowe from the Bulls, while Bohan Venter returns home to South Africa, but he will be moving to the Emirates Lions. Adam Hastings is leaving the Glasgow Warriors for Montpellier in a major loss for the URC side, especially after they saw Tom Jordan depart just last season. And finally, All Blacks winger Sevu Reece is reportedly heading to Perpignan in the top 14, but only if they avoid relegation. It is a move with serious risk attached, but huge upside for the top 14 strugglers who currently sit in 13th position and quite far out of 12th. Now, a couple of rumours to watch. Ulster are exploring keeping Angus Bell on a long-term deal now that the Australian eligibility rules have relaxed. They're also reportedly in the mix for Joey Carberry, although Leinster and possibly Munster remain interested, with Leinster now being the front runners there. Leinster are also monitoring Connacht scrum half Ben Murphy as a long-term cover for Jamison Gibson Park, while Luke McGrath, Vincent Gunn and Cormac Foley are rounding out the scrum half depth chart there. Ben Murphy at this stage is a major upgrade on any of those trios, so that'll be really interesting to watch. In terms of re-signings, the Stormers absolutely dominated the re-signing market here. Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu has committed until 2029, as has head coach John Dobson through to the same season. That is a massive boost for the Stormers, with Feinberg Ngomazulu being arguably the best talent in professional rugby. In Ireland, Munster Rugby have secured Craig Kesi, whilst Ulster Rugby have signed Nathan Doak, which is a great boost for both teams there. In Bristol, Welsh superstar Louis Rees-Zammit has extended what was his one-year deal with the Bristol Bears to a long-term deal with Pat Lamb's squad, whilst Dan Edwards has re-signed with Welsh Rugby, but not necessarily the Ospreys per reports, which is very interesting. And could again be another indicator that the Ospreys are the team that are going to be missing out, unfortunately. Now, that kind of brings an end to this video for us, but make sure to remember rugby fans can watch all of these players live on FloRugby with streaming access to the United Rugby Championship, Prem Rugby, Top 14, the EPCR competitions, and Japan League One, making us your one-stop shop for all club rugby. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you the next time on the Rugby Today series.